Hello, and welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to The Boring Company. Welcome. We are going back to our usual quarterly review. I usually do this just after Tesla do their quarterly report or financial report. But I thought, you know what, why not get this in nice and early, because the Las Vegas project has been going along very, very nicely. Welcome to everyone who's joining us in the live stream. So, let's get this nice and big so I can see what I'm talking about. As per usual, we have a list of all the projects that are possibly going to occur. Some of them have about as much likelihood as me winning the ice hockey Olympic gold medal, but it's not going to happen in Israel. It's probably not going to happen in Australia either. But all these other projects are viable. They do have they are viable business proposals. They definitely could be done for a reasonably sensible sum of money, and therefore make the Boring Company, Elon Musk and Paul Davis a nice bit of money. So let's get going. First of all, let's look back at the Chicago Express Loop. Project value $358 million. Project length is 33.92 miles. So, what is going on with this project? Next to nothing has been said about this project since the last time we did a quarterly review. Unfortunately, the person who has been feeding me some information in regards to this hasn't had basically anything additional to say, so therefore we must assume that it really is on hold now, and the likelihood of it coming out of that position is getting fairly low. It doesn't look like Mayor Lightfoot is going to change her mind on this. I find it quite bizarre, because the last time I've seen her talk was when they were planning to build this huge skyscraper in the centre of Chicago, and she was talking about building up Chicago's downtown. And I thought to myself, you know what would actually build up Chicago's downtown is actually having really excellent transport links there. And if you're not willing to back Elon Musk and the Boring Company, sod you. We're not really interested in working with you. We will work with other mayors and other local authorities that are actually going to invest in our project, that are going to take the time to promote our project, and that are going to be enthusiastic about what we're going to do and take risks with us. Because this is a big risk, but it's Elon Musk. He has a track record of delivering when the pressure is on. So if Chicago don't want it, they don't want it. Probability of completion for the Chicago Loop is now 22%. I think it's very unlikely to happen. If we don't hear anything in the next 2 quarters, I anticipate that this is a dead duck. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. I mean, it's one of those projects that would easily make some good money for the Boring Company, and it would be very convenient for the people who are living in Chicago in terms of getting to the airport, in terms of getting on there and going to downtown. But it's been essentially ignored. Okay, the project of the moment, the Las Vegas Convention Center Loop, or LVCC Loop in Nevada. Project value, I almost changed the project value because a lot of people are quoting just over $50 million. I have no idea where they've got that figure from, because the contract documents clearly state $48.6 million. I assume there are going to be some big changes in regards to how that project is laid out, but I don't have anything concrete. So for now, we're going to basically stick to what we know, which is that the contract document says 48.6. We have 3 stations, and it is 1.66 miles of tunnelling in total. One other thing that I've changed is the TBM, the machine that is being used on this project. It is clearly not a line storm machine. There has not been enough innovation for it to be considered a step change from Godot. I personally think that they've essentially made almost a carbon copy of the machine that they used for the Hawthorne test tunnel. Therefore, I think it's a bit disrespectful to Linestorm to call this machine Linestorm, because it's not really a Linestorm machine, and it's showing that on site, which I will come back to later. Under construction, throughput for this is going to be 4,400. If it is not 4,400, the Boeing company is in significant trouble with the Las Vegas Convention Center and will be fined accordingly. And these are multi-million dollar fines, so it's in their interest to make sure they beat that target during peak times. 3 stations, again, this could change. Probability of completion, well, they're obviously nearly 30% of the way through with that project, so hopefully they will have it finished before the 29th of December. What else have we got? The San Jose Airport Loop in California. Now, as I keep telling you guys, this is one of my favorite projects because it has a really good use case linking the airport to the local train station. It's in quite a sizable train station. I think that project makes perfect sense. It's a distance of just under 4.1 miles, which is a good testing ground for a Linestorm machine. Hopefully 2 Linestorm machines, because we want them coming from both directions. I hope that project gets done. It has kind of gone very, very quiet, but I believe that the mayor of San Jose is waiting in the wings to see how Las Vegas goes, and then potentially might jump on this project and get it going. So there might be 18 months and then we see this get started, or less. I think the probability of completion of the San Jose project is 30%. Hawthorne Test Tunnel, if you don't know, they built a test tunnel near the design centre at Hawthorne, near the airport there, 1.14 miles. It cost, I think it was just over 10 million, but we don't have the exact figure. Used a good old machine, and yeah, it was completed in good time. That was our first project completed. As far as I'm aware, they're still testing vehicles in that tunnel, although we have no video proof of what exactly is going on. Dugout Loop, this is the project that's linking the baseball stadium to the local metro line, or one of the local metro line stations in LA, Los Angeles. Project cost is around $53 million. Project length, 3.59 miles. Again, this is the perfect size project that the Boeing company should be getting into. And the advantage of having such a long tunnel is that means that after 600 to 700 meters, that pod can be up to full speed, and then it can cruise along at its full speed of 125, 155 miles per hour, whatever they determine it's going to be. Planning approval for this is being sought. Again, they are probably waiting in the wings for Las Vegas to be completed to determine if the Boeing company is the real deal. It includes 2 stations, both of which will be above ground with ramps. Probability of completion I've got here 40%, which I think might be a little high. Possibly should be maybe a tad lower than that. Hopefully this happens, but again, very quiet on that front. But I think things take time to be approved in Los Angeles, so hopefully we should see something in the next year or so. Now, my most bullish of projects still waiting to get approved is the Baltimore to Washington DC loop. Project value is just over $1 billion, but it is a big one, 72.39 miles. Planning approval is being sought. I think that's 6,000 per hour. I think I pulled that from an article somewhere. So they wanted it around 6,000 per hour. I think that personally could get absolutely trashed. Maybe 10,000 per hour if they really wanted to increase the throughput. A lot of good things are going on with that project in the background. There's a lot of work into how they could theoretically do it without using public money. So hopefully we see it going in for full planning approval and that is completed relatively quickly. However, They don't necessarily have the machine to do this project. That's what worries me the most. I think for a project of that size, you probably need 6 TBMs, being frank and honest with you. Unless they could produce a Proofrock style machine, they're going to need at least 4, probably 6 machines. So I think there's a good probability that will start at some point and it will get planning approval, but it will just take a little bit longer because of the scale of that project. Then we've got the kind of, I'm not wanting to say reject projects, but the kind of projects that were proposed and there was no real kind of thought behind why you'd want to do it, or even in the Israel project where you'd want to do it. So Blue Mountain crossing Sydney, you basically going through the mountains with a tunnel. No idea why you'd want to go across the mountains because there's very little on the other side. Potentially it could be a residential development proposal, maybe build some kind of satellite city or something like that. I'm not sure. I've got $850,000 US, 61.85 miles. Very conceptual. The probability of this ever even starting, never mind getting completed, is 0.5%. Very low probability. This Israel loop was a complete joke. It was basically before the election of Benjamin Netanyahu. So he was trying to get votes by saying that he wanted to invest in infrastructure in Israel. I don't think even there's just no chance of that happening. Absolutely no chance. More chance of me becoming a billionaire than that starting, to be frank with you. So it's not going to happen. CERN particle accelerator, that's definitely going to happen. That would be funded directly by the European Organisation for Nuclear Research. It's going to happen, but it's going to take a while for it to happen. Therefore, I just can't really seriously think about this project until at least 2025. So I've put the probability of completion at 16%, but that could very well shoot up to close to 90-95% at some point if they decide to do it, agree the funding, and then obviously Elon Musk states that he still wants to do it. One possible spanner in the works for this is, I believe, and this I might not be correct, but I believe this organisation here, European Organisation for Nuclear Research, is funded partly by the European Union. The European Union has a massive shortage in funds scheduled for the next couple of years because of Brexit and the UK leaving the European Union. Therefore, it could be one of those projects that either gets pushed further into the future or potentially either cancelled. So, now we've done all the boring stuff, let's look at the Las Vegas project. Before we look at that, let's have a quick look and see what people are saying. Hello to everyone in the chat. Great to see. Any questions at the end, please send them through. Okie doke. So, what have we got here? This is kind of a bit of a brief statistical look at what is going on in Las Vegas. So you can actually see the actual numbers and how far we are progressing. So as you can see, this red bar here at the top, that's telling us where we are exactly. So we're actually coming towards the end of January, but we've not quite made it to the end of January, so I've not filled that box in there. Overall progress. So the article that I've read said 2,100 feet. So if you convert that into meters, that's 640 meters. If you divide that by, each one of these boxes here is a fortnight. So every fortnight they're doing about 160 meters, which is just over 10 meters per day. So as you can see, 160, 160, and then in feet, so per fortnight we've got 525 feet. Now, this is probably nowhere near accurate, because I suspect that when the tunnel began boring at the beginning of November, I think it was the 15th of November, they were probably doing around 6 to 8 meters per day. However, at the moment, because they've got the workings of the machine and they understand how it's operating, and they've kind of perfected how they run the operation, it's probably near around 12 meters per day, if not slightly higher than that. So by the time they start doing Tunnel B, they could be nearer 14 meters. But we'll have to see. Overall, the performance of this machine in Las Vegas has been very disappointing. I am quite discouraged by the performance of this machine, and the fact that we've not really got a line storm machine in there. We've essentially gone for the same design as Godot. But we're still a startup company. Hopefully we can build a machine that is befitting of the name Line Storm. So, as you can see, as of the 15th of January, when that article came out in Electric, we are 53.3% complete. At this moment, as of today, we are just shy of 66% complete, according to my forecast, although again, this could speed up very quickly. Based on the information that we have to hand, it'd be great if we could get information every day in terms of how many meters it had completed, but I just don't think the Boring Company or the Las Vegas Convention Center are ever going to give information daily, never mind monthly. It just wouldn't happen. I predict that by the end of February there'll be 93% complete, if not more, and then around the 9th of March, 10th of March, they should hopefully be 100% complete in Tunnel A. So that machine will have come through the other side. They will then remove that machine from the reception shaft. They will then spin it round 180 and then set it off going in the opposite direction. Now, that process is going to take a while. It'll take anywhere from 3.5 to 6.5 weeks. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to be doing when that machine gets to the other end, how quickly they can turn it around. It would have been so much easier if they've had another machine and had already started. We would have essentially had all the tunnels finished by mid-March, and then we would have had loads of time to finish the rest of the works. Now, you're probably thinking, what other work needs to be completed, Will, for this project to be completed on time? Well, once they've turned around that TBM and sent it back down the other end, they then need to start laying the concrete road deck. I think they will pour it in situ. I don't think they will use precast road decks. That's my personal opinion. There's nothing in the Boring Company building specification that says that they're going to use prefab or use in situ, but based on my experience, I think that would be much quicker than if they brought in prefabricated segments and they had to basically stack them, move them down into the tunnel and then lay them. I just don't think that is a good way of doing it. I think it'd be much easier to set out your rebar, set out your formwork, and then just do a really big pour. And when I say really big pour, we're talking, at least 1,400 foot, maybe slightly less than that per pour. So we do 3 pours of around 1,400, maybe slightly more than that. And that would allow us to do essentially the whole thing in under 6 weeks. So I'll have us finishing the road deck at the beginning of May, end of April. Tunnel B should hopefully have started by the 17th of March. If it continues at a similar rate to this, hopefully by early to mid-August, or maybe mid to late August, we should have Tunnel B completed. Fingers crossed they learn some lessons and they can increase the speed to around 12 to 14 meters per day. Now, what else needs to be done? Well, obviously they have to build the stations. However, are they going to build a station 2? I personally don't think they are going to build a station. However, the contract documents say they will. It would make more sense if they didn't build a station 2 to begin with, and then in 6 months' time, maybe they add another station with the option for vehicles to go around it. So almost like a diversion around that station, which would increase the throughput by at least 50% if they had a diversion, both eastbound and westbound for station 2. At the moment, there is no progress because we're using those, or at least we're using the launch pit for the operations of the TBM at this present moment in time. But when that has finished, hopefully we can convert it into a station in a good 3 or 4 months. But again, I have no idea when it's going to start. It's fairly basic. There's not really much to the station other than a staircase. I think there's 2 elevators, and all the platforms are concrete, so maybe they could be brought in precast concrete, so they could be dropped into place. So all the work takes place off-site in a quality controlled environment, and then they're shipped in via lorry, and then they are dropped in, and then you probably pour some kind of screed to neaten up the finished floor level. Overall, what am I thinking about this project at this present moment in time? I'm not blown away. I'm not really that impressed. I still think they're going to finish on time. Maybe the wow factor is going to come when they start running vehicles through the system. But for me personally, based on my own experience in the construction industry, working on some 7 different projects, some of them large multi-million pound projects, I'm just not blown away by what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing that much innovation. I'm not seeing any new technology. I'm not seeing some kind of super well-managed site. It just feels all very mediocre to me. Overall, I would score the performance of this project so far as a D-. Now, it doesn't mean they can't turn things around. Maybe they could blow me away at the end of March and finish Tunnel B before we get to the end of July. I don't know. I really hope to see that, but I just think with this current machine that uses standard TBM technology that we're just not going to see anything amazing. But the most important thing is that we get this project finished. We get it finished on time to the correct quality standard. Then the Las Vegas Convention Center hopefully gets to see us run pods through this and we achieve 4,400 per hour. Once that's done, then, Bob's your uncle. We've got our money. We can run further tests in the system. We can perfect it. We can adjust the vehicles that we're using in the system. Maybe we start off with Model X vehicles and then we move on to the actual pods or autonomous electric vehicles. There's definitely a pathway to making this a very useful project for learning for the Boring Company. So the Boring Company needs to learn a lot of lessons from this project because it all felt a bit rushed. Why are we not using 2 machines? Any other project like this that requires 2 tunnels would use 2 machines. At least 2 machines. And it definitely feels a bit like there's a lot of chop and changing going on with potentially no Station 2 and the budget of the project changing less than 2 months in. Anyway, I still think there's an 87% chance that this will finish on time. So that's the good positive news. But we need the actual project team to step up to the plate and really start pulling out some big numbers over the next 6 to 9 months. Okay, guys. So let's have a look. Was that... Jesus Christ. I hope to hell that was coming up then. So let's have a look at whoever's in today and see what people are saying. Hello everyone. Could everyone see that Excel spreadsheet then while I was talking about it? Because for some reason it didn't come up on my screen a minute ago. Let's see who is in. All the usuals. Cormac, nice to see you, my mate. Black House Brew. Edmar Newman. Let's have a look. Perfect. And weight capacity. Hold 6 people on £2,500 in the bed. That's enough weight capacity for 16 people. Easily. If they're going to be mass producing the Cybertruck skateboard, they might as well use it for the pods as well. Hello, Edmore. Hello, David. Nice to see you again. Benjamin, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. John, do you think the Model 3... Do you think the Model 3 will get a Plaid update because the efficiency of the first gear is very poor at 250 kilometers per hour? Yeah, interesting question. So you can make a vehicle, an electric vehicle, a lot more efficient by having different gearing ratios. So the gearing ratio at the front and the gearing ratio at the back should be quite a reasonable gap between them, because one should be about accelerating from 0 to, let's say, 80 miles per hour, and then the rear motors should be about accelerating, like pushing the vehicle from 80 to 140 miles per hour. I think that with a Plaid update, I presume there would be a bigger battery pack, and there would be at least 3 motors, if not 4, probably 3 I'd imagine, and that would increase the top speed and hopefully increase the efficiency around 10 to 15%, if not more. Benjamin Saunders, I have a question. When do you think the Boeing company will start building roads? Roads. As in roads inside the tunnels? You're going to have to clarify that for me. Do they drive the Autobahn? So, I'm a bit confused about that question. They're going to build road decks inside the tunnels. They probably won't build roads on the surface. What they will have is a ramp that goes up to adjacent to a say like a side road or a dual carriageway or a motorway, and then you will merge in and join the local road network. They won't actually build many roads on the surface other than roads that link up to the ramps, from the ramps to, say, the dual carriageway. Yes, yeah, I've just read that now, so I understand. 30% of the tunnel is complete, but way more for stations and supporting structures. Like I said, the actual works inside the station are fairly basic. The major work is actually sinking those secant piles, and then the actual process of excavating all that soil, then installing your ring beams, then further completing your excavation process in stages, and then installing more supportive steel in the forms of props and ring beams. But you know, that's fairly well-known civil engineering practices, so it won't take that long, but it is expensive. They can definitely finish on time, but they need to be starting work on the stations in the next 2 months. Hopefully, they just don't do Station 2 and leave it until after CES, and then you just focus on Station 1 and Station 3. So I'm not too sure about kilometers per hour. I think that is around 150, 140 miles per hour. So I think that's a good solid speed. Anything above 110 miles an hour is brilliant, really. So if we could get to like 125, 128 miles per hour, that would be perfect for the Boeing company. But anything better than that is an added bonus. Any talk of boring technology for NASA's Artemis moon colony? Unsure. We definitely need to go to the moon. It's the logical place to go before we go to Mars. And we need a big moon base. I'm talking, 800, 900 acres, if not more than that. Maybe 1,000 acres. And we can put people on the moon, and then we can study how it works for the body, how radiation affects people, how the microgravity affects people, how living in essentially, you'd hope it wouldn't be a confined space, but a relatively confined space, how that affects people, and then we can use those findings to put towards Mars. But we should have a reasonably large colony on the moon by now. It's 2020. And if that means linking up these various, what would you call it, structures or domes on the moon via tunnels, that makes perfect sense to me. There are definitely materials that could be used on the moon to form the machines and the tools, so I would hopefully promote that happening. So, John, it would not be called Plaid, and the top speed will be less than Model S to not take away sales, but it would be halfway between ludicrous and Plaid. I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think it has been said, in fact, someone has gone into the software on a Model 3 and found there is an option for a ludicrous Model 3. I assume Plaid is like the absolute top, and that will be limited to the Model S and Model X, but there will definitely be a ludicrous Model 3, and that Model 3 will have 100 kilowatt hour battery. Yeah, I've not heard anything. Yes, James. I've been watching quite a few launches actually for SpaceX. It's been a busy old 6 months for them, hasn't it? What is throughput? Good question. So when we talk about throughput, think of it like putting internet through a cable, like a copper cable, or maybe a fiber optic cable. So like how many megabits or megabytes per second? Is it 100, 200, 1,000? The same goes with a tunnel. How many pods can you push through every hour? Do you if every pod has 14 people in it, or 12 people, or 16 people, whatever it is, how many pods can you push through in a given hour? Is it 100? Is it 500? Is it 800? And that will affect the throughput of that particular system. So we would hope that in a big long system, like the one that's being proposed in the Washington-Baltimore loop, which is nearly 70 miles. I think it's more than 70 miles, isn't it? You'd hope that in a system like that, where you could have lots of on-ramps, you should be able to get close to 10,000 per hour. Yes. Netanyahu probably won't be Prime Minister of Israel this time next year. He's in a really big legal fight. He's taken some money, I believe, for, I think it was defence contracts, and it was basically a backhander. I think that he's going to get found guilty and he's going to be impeached. Throughput is how many cars or people through the tunnel per hour or minute. Boeing tunnel needs to have 4,000. Yes. Couldn't have said it better myself. Already been explained. Thank you, Black House Brew. Yes. Because it's such a long, straight route and they can follow the local motorway network, they should be able to easily hit 155 miles per hour and then sustain that for a long period of time, maybe 20, 25 minutes, a solid 155, That means they'd be able to get to the destination really, really quick, and it'd actually be a lot faster than, say, Amtrak or some other form of, even maybe a helicopter would be slightly faster, but there wouldn't be very much in it. Definitely. That is the project that would put us in the big time, because it's over $1 billion. So the fact that if we could complete $1 billion project, do it on time, on budget, that, the press couldn't ignore that. They would have to, give us the thumbs up and praise us, or probably ignore us, but it would certainly get a lot of critics off our back if we could deliver a project like that. And it's a moneymaker. This is what I forget to say sometimes. Baltimore to Washington is a moneymaker big time. The reason it's a moneymaker is because property in Baltimore, even in the suburbs of Baltimore where it's nice, I'm not saying in the centre of Baltimore because apparently it's a bit of a ghetto, but in the suburbs of Baltimore, lots and lots of nice houses, almost 60% less than in the suburbs of Washington, if not more, 70% less. So if you could live in Baltimore and commute into Washington, where it's very, very expensive to live, people are going to be very, very happy to pay $15, $20 for a return ticket to get into Washington. Very happy, because it's going to save them $600, $700 in rent, if not more than that, $1,000 in rent per month. And if the Boring Company did some kind of monthly travel pass, which equated to, like less than $16 per day in travel, that would be perfect. Unlimited travel, $16 per day, but you've got to pay it up front in one monthly cost. See, I thought they were, David, but I've not seen anything mentioned about it. They have the facilities there, but I don't know what... As far as I'm aware, they're taking most of that spoil away to landfill. So a lot of it's being wasted, but I think they are keeping some to side to then use later on for boring bricks. But as of now, they've not made any boring bricks, because if they did, wow, I'd be buying some. I'd buy some, and I'd probably sell some as well online, because I think that sort of thing might be worth something in a few years. And if you guys ever get hold of some boring bricks, email me, because I will be happy to pay the postage to bring them over here to the UK, or maybe if I'm in the USA at some point, I could collect them. Yes. So there's certain performance requirements that they need to meet. If they don't, so the first performance requirement is like 2,200, then I think it's 3,600, and then 4,000, or no, 3,400. 2,200, 3,400, and 4,400 per hour, and then they get paid a percentage of the overall contract price. I'd love to be somehow involved. It's just very difficult at the moment with how my life is set up. But I mean, this. I just wanted to say as well, guys, while I'm thinking about it. Wow, this channel is making a huge difference to my life. Yeah, because from the ad revenue from YouTube, I'm getting over £100 now every month, which is, for me, is just like super awesome. And I've got all my amazing Patreons who are supporting me, some of whom are in the channel today. When that's all combined together, I'm probably going to have enough money to go to Las Vegas by October, November easily. Probably be able to upgrade to like a 4-star hotel and get a few drinks when I arrive. This channel has changed my life. I wake up so happy seeing all the people that are getting involved with this, and they want to learn more about the Boring Company, and I'm benefiting from it as well. So thank you, everyone. I'd also love to work for the Boring Company, but obviously, like, I've got my life here in the UK and I've got my family. It'd be difficult, but if they ever came to the UK, wow, my CV would be off there in a shot. I'd practically work for next to nothing if I could go and work for the Boring Company. Spreadsheets were nominal. I'm not sure what that means, but I'll try my best to make it better. James Snap, if convention centre tunnel works, they will continue onto the strip. Excellent point. And they've, if you go to my Twitter, they have launched a Las Vegas Convention Centre loop website, which is worth having a look at. And on that website, they have a diagram of where a potential loop network could go in terms of all the hotels on the strip. So like Caesars and the Bellagio and the new stadium for the Raiders. So if we do this project and hopefully we finish it on time and hit that capacity target, we potentially off the back of that could then get another $500 million worth of work, maybe even $600 million worth of work. And then that could then lead on to another project and then another project just in Las Vegas. So we don't necessarily need to try and win other projects other than the ones that we said that we were going to do. We could just focus on Las Vegas and building out, a big tunnel network there. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. At one point, I thought I was just talking to a blank screen and that you guys couldn't see the Excel document, but it must have just knocked itself off when I switched the tabs. Well, sometimes it's worth nitpicking because it can lead to fatal mistakes. MBGs and KPH, yes. Not a problem. Miles per hour, yes. Yeah. I struggle with kilometers per hour because other than when I was doing physics at A-level, I just never used kilometers per hour. So for me, I can only think in miles per hour. But obviously in some countries like Australia and in Europe as well, kilometers per hour is the standard measurement. Hey Johnny, how are you, my mate? No, another regular. It's so great to see so many faces in the chat that I recognise every time I do a video. And the fact that you guys tune in and want to listen to what I've got to say is just fabulous, guys. So thank you so much. And just by watching this video and watching the adverts at the end, you are helping me and helping me go to Las Vegas. So, thank you very much. But you don't necessarily need to buy what they're advertising. just watch the first 15 seconds and then skip it. Yeah, I agree. We keep coming back to this for Mars. There's a lot of radiation on Mars, and obviously the outside is there's no atmosphere, so getting exposed is dangerous. You can't stay out there for very long. So the idea of linking up various settlements via tunnels, maybe even having huge boring machines with 30, 40 foot diameter boring heads, potentially that could be converted into underground accommodation. So there are big possibilities, very big possibilities. And remember, there's less gravity on Mars and the moon, so removing all that spoil is a lot, like 10, 20 times easier. Yeah, interesting question. The solution is, do you either bring a TBM to Mars, or do you build the TBM using 3D printing or using traditional techniques on Mars? Now, the fact that SpaceX now has these huge rockets, they could bring a lot of the components with them. However, it might be more convenient to build some other components, especially the cutter head, on Mars. So it kind of be a hybrid of the two, I'd imagine. It could definitely be done. I think that on Mars they'd probably want to make the diameter of the tunnels a bit bigger, and then they could use them for other things, maybe growing food underground, or maybe even accommodating people, or running really big trains. Starlink. Yes, Starlink will do very, very well. That'll be another multi-billion-dollar business just on its own, other than what SpaceX does on the side. Yes, yes. It's like driving your car. If you drive your car at night time and all the traffic lights are on green, you have one of those journeys where everything's on green, you get home like 10 minutes quicker. But all you need is to get stuck at a roundabout or get stuck behind a car that's driving very slowly, and it just cripples your journey time. So the Boeing company needs to focus on making sure that vehicles can enter and exit the system without having to slow down or be caught up by other vehicles, and that requires a lot of foresight and pre-planning to be able to do that. Because sometimes it might be better to have a tunnel that goes past the destination and then comes back on itself, so you drive back because there'll be less traffic going in that direction. Good questions today. Excellent questions today, guys. Yes. I like it. Nominal. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks to everyone. I do wake up every day with a smile on my face at how well this channel's doing and how engaged everyone is. And please, come on the Discord channel, talk to me on Twitter and also our Instagram. A cylinder. Did he? Cylinder of proof rock. Was that not a cylinder, a rocket cylinder? I remember seeing something that looked like a rocket cylinder. It might be something to do with SpaceX, that, but I don't know. Maybe, if you have seen something, drop me a tweet on Twitter. Transport on high 3D printing. Yes. There's another electric car company called Arkimoto, and they've just partnered with another company that specializes in 3D printing. And basically Arkimoto said to this company, we've got a vehicle here, but some of the components are quite expensive to produce, so can you 3D print these parts? And they came back 2 months later with all these 3D printing, and it did reduce the weight of the vehicle by a good, several dozen kilograms. So it does make a big difference, 3D printing. And if you can do it to scale without any workers required, wow, that's going to reduce your cost big time. Okay, last comment, guys, and then I'm going to end the stream. Let's see what we've got. Any quick questions before I end? Oh, he did? Did he? Wow. I'll have to look for that. Thank you for that. The heads up. Bucket elevator, like a bumper hoist. One. Yeah, it could do. Some of the rockets that go to Mars could be recycled. And it's obviously stainless steel, so it'd be easy to work with. Okay, let's finish on this one, because I think this is a good question. What do I think is the most efficient way to remove spoil from the TBM? I think they should have a set of narrow gauge railways inside the tunnel, and then they can have muck trains going up, and they can have multiple muck trains with pulling plenty of carriages, maybe pulling like 30-40 carriages, and then when they get to near the surface, you could have gantry cranes, and those gantry cranes could remove those carriages either individually or in groups maybe, and then just drop the spoil at the surface. Then that train could turn around, and these trains would be autonomous and run up to 60 miles per hour. So that potentially could be a super fast way of removing spoil via bumper hoist, or maybe even have the train actually go up a ramp and then out onto the surface. That's one potential other way. Another way that I potentially see it being done is actually just building a tunnel just to remove spoil from a big city centre like Las Vegas, and you could just have autonomous trains running up and down that tunnel 24/7. Great stuff. Thank you for everyone that has joined us today on the live stream. Really appreciate all your support. This channel is going gangbuster style. I think we were going to be hitting 3,000 subscribers in the next 6 to 8 weeks. So thank you, everyone. Great questions today. Hopefully see you again later in the week. And remember, guys, don't be boring. See you all soon. Have a great day. Goodbye.